Hare Krishna.
Hare
Dear Rebecca,
Krishna.
so happy to see you.
I know. It's so wonderful to see you again. Hare Krishna, everyone. Welcome. So, Prashanti, we missed you too. So, it's good to see you again. All right. So, we are in this very exciting phase of the Srimad Bhagavatam, right about to enter into, this is the prelude to the first powerful prayers of this most exalted yogini. You know, we all want to be yogis, right? And we see that this process of yoga is actually applicable to both men and women and children. So in the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is actually a very unique thing, you're actually going to hear, we're actually going to study and hear the prayers of exalted women, children, 5-year-old children, right? Even people who are born of very, very
prayers from demons, prayers from animals.
Animals, yeah. Gajendra, there'll be an elephant who'll be offering prayers. So it's amazing. That means that this process of connecting, this process of yoga is open for all. There are no barriers. Just because I'm a woman, just because I'm a child, just because I'm an elephant or any other animal. So in this way, so the first prayer that we're going to encounter is actually the prayer of this woman, Kunti, who's the mother of Arjuna and the 5 Pandavas, and is a single woman who single-handedly raised her children and suffered great injustices along the way, and her realizations, right? So, and this is the prelude to that. So let's start.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudire Nashtapayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttam Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Nashtaki.
Yajayitva Shwamedhe Ribhiruttama Kalpake Yadyasha Pavanam Dikshu Shatamanyo Rivatanot.
Now Shri Krishna caused 3 well-performed Ashwamedha Yagyas to be conducted by Maharaj Yudhishthir, and thus caused his virtuous fame to be glorified in all directions, like that of Indra, who had performed 100 such sacrifices.
So, many important things in this verse. First of all, it delineates that being the leader of the society, being the leader and the king of his kingdom, Maharaj Yudhishthir, his job description was to act in such a way that brought ultimate benefit to all the citizens of his country. And for this purpose, Lord Krishna engaged Maharaj Yudhishthir in performing these sacrifices, Ashwamedha Yagya. And this sacrifice is a very special sacrifice where a lot of resources are needed, and ultimately Lord Krishna is glorified, Lord Vishnu is glorified in the sacrifice. And Maharaj Yudhishthir sacrificed all the great personalities like Brahma and Shiva and all these great, everybody came there, because wherever there is a sacrifice, that is a place where Lord Krishna and Lord Vishnu are glorified. And it becomes a very special holy place. So people in those ages, they were like looking for such opportunities where they could gather together and glorify and hear the glorification of the Lord. And therefore, all these great personalities, nowadays, in today's day in society, people go to watch movies and cinema, or they go to a bar where they can find some enjoyment. But in those earlier times, people were looking for an opportunity where a yajna or sacrifice would be performed. And they would all flock, they would be sent an invitation, they would all come together to benefit everybody. So there was accommodation in those sacrifices for people from all different walks of life. Even like the poorest of the poor could participate and observe these yajnas and get the benefit from them. And therefore Maharaj Yudhishthir's fame, although he only performed these 3 sacrifices, it was greater than the king of heaven, because king of heaven, Maharaj Yudhishthir is considered even a pure devotee, and because in his heart he did not perform the sacrifices for a motive. He only wanted to glorify Krishna, and therefore his fame spread even more than that of Indra.
Actually, this has just reminded me of Prabhupada. When Prabhupada came to New York and he went to Tompkins Square Park, and he sat under a tree, and he was all by himself. So he made this point: I did not go there to attract a following. I just went there to glorify Krishna. So something that I've been thinking about so much, that when we just sit down to glorify Krishna, then that itself constitutes absolute success. Who comes, how many people come, or they don't come, that is not the criteria, right? So in the same way, we see here that just even though he only performed 3, but he's glorified even more than Indra, who performed 100.
So it is said that anybody who can perform 100 Ashwamedha sacrifices, they can be qualified to become Indra. So Indra is always on a watch that anybody who's doing these Ashwamedha sacrifices, like Maharaj Prithu, he did 99. And then Indra got really scared, and he really spoiled his. He did not allow. He created so many obstacles that Maharaj Prithu could not complete the 100 sacrifice.
There's some participants. I don't know. Yeah.
Amantra Pandu Putramsha Senyodhava Samyuta Vepayanadi Vipre Pujita Pratipujita.
Now, Shri Krishna then prepared for his departure. He invited the sons of Pandu after having been worshipped by the Brahmanas, headed by Srila Vyasadeva. The Lord also reciprocated greetings.
So we will see that how Krishna was meant to leave Hastinapur after the battle of Kurukshetra, and then Draupadi's sons were killed. Subhadra was also grieving his sister. So Krishna decided to stay there for a few more months. And in that time, he conducted all these sacrifices by Maharaj Yudhishthira. Okay. Gantum Kratamatир Brahman Dwarakamratamastita Upalebe Abhidhavantim Uttaram Bhayavibhalam.
As soon as he seated himself on the chariot to start for Dwaraka, he saw Uttara hurrying towards him in fear. So this is where we see this building up of Uttara running towards Krishna, because Ashwatthama is not done yet. And he has still, even though he was insulted and he was, in fact, he was even forgiven, yet his heart does not undergo any change. And he still wants, he throws another Brahmastra at the womb of Uttara, who has Maharaj Parikshit in her womb.
Uttaro Vacha Pahi Pahi Mahayogin Deva Deva Jagatpate Nanyam Twadavayam Pashe Yatra Mrityu Parasparam. Uttara said, O Lord of Lords, Lord of the universe, you are the greatest of mystics. Please protect me, for there is no one else who can save me from the clutches of death in this world of duality. So here, as soon as Krishna is about to leave, he sees Uttara who's rushing towards the chariot, and he recognizes that something has gone wrong. So immediately she's asking him for protection. Pahi Pahi means please provide me protection, protect. Mahayogin, O Lord of the universe, because you are the Lord of the universe, only you can do this. Uttara did not approach any of the other great personalities like the Pandavas who were present. They were her father-in-laws, but she did not approach any of them. She directly approached Krishna. And she says that you are fully capable of protecting me because you are also Mahayogi, the greatest of mystics. Because the Brahmastra was coming to hurt the womb of Uttara, and no living person can enter into the womb of somebody and help them, right? So she knew that only Krishna could do that because he's the Mahayogi, he's the greatest of mystics.
And actually that's true for us also, right? That when we are caught up in this material world and we are faced with so many difficult situations, sometimes very, very severe situations, then who can protect us? And who, even though we may have so many family members, we may have so many friends and contacts and so many different people, but still, we can see this, that Uttara, she just turns towards Krishna and says, only you can actually protect me from this very, very scary or fearful situation.
And she also uses the word Abhayam, Nanyam Tod Abhayam, which means that everybody is fearful of somebody in this material world other than Krishna. Only Krishna is the only person who is completely fearless, and then therefore he's the only person who can also award us fearlessness. So this world is a world of death, actually, and there's always fear of death hanging over our head. So if you want to become free from this fear of death, then the only person worth taking shelter is Krishna. So Uttara is demonstrating in her prayers. Abhidravati mamisha saras taptayasho vivo kamam dahatu mam natha mame garbo nipatyatam.
Oh, my Lord, you're all powerful. A fiery iron arrow is coming towards me fast. My Lord, let it burn me personally if you so desire. But please do not let it burn and abort my embryo. Please do me this favor, my Lord. So here, Uttara was actually a widow, and her husband, Abhimanyu, was actually killed on the battlefield. And she was pregnant at that time. So she was, she really wanted, this would have been the last of the Pandus, right? Because all the 5 sons of Draupadi were already killed. So she really wanted, so that's why she's praying and saying that, please, if you so desire. I guess the key word here is if you so desire.
And then
now it's going up. Yeah, go ahead.
What was I saying? Yeah, and the reason she's saying this is she's also saying to Krishna that I don't want this child to die in your presence, because otherwise people will say that, hey, even in the presence of Krishna, he could not protect the dynasty of Pandavas. In his presence, the dynasty of Pandavas was finished. So she didn't want this black spot to occur on Krishna's fame. And therefore she's saying that you please protect my embryo.
And also when we pray, right, that we can also put this little thing there, right?
If you so desire.
If you so desire, Krishna. And that allows for, we were just, because sometimes when we pray, we have the sense that if I'm making a prayer to Krishna, then this is how it should turn out. And then when it doesn't turn out, then we feel that what's the point of this prayer? But really the purpose of prayer is to put ourselves in the hands of Krishna and say, whatever is your desire. And that's how the great devotees, they are continuously praying that whether you protect me or you slay me, right? Maro bhi rakho bhi, whether you protect me or you slay me. And so we see here that Uttara is also doing that. She's saying, if you so desire. And
when we have that faith, when we express that faith in Krishna, then regardless of the outcome, we actually come closer to him. And our bhakti grows. Sutta vacha upadharya vachastascha bhagavana bhakta vatsala apandavam idam kartum dronirastram abhudyata.
Sutta Goswami said, having patiently heard her words, Lord Shri Krishna, who is always very affectionate to his devotees, could at once understand that Ashwathama, the son of Dronacharya, had thrown the Brahmastra to finish the last life in the Pandava family.
So Krishna is called Bhakta Vatsala. Krishna is neutral in general, sitting as a super soul. But he's especially Bhakta Vatsala because he's attached to his devotees. And therefore he patiently heard her words and he acted on it.
Actually, I was thinking that how, this process of patiently hearing someone, that, we talk so much in the modern world about empathic hearing. So it almost seems like Krishna was empathically hearing her, he listening to her grief, and then he acted. And then also remember we were hearing about how Krishna would always protect the Pandavas, like the way the eyelids protect the eyes, right? And just like if anything goes inside the eyes, they have to first they have to first encounter the eyelids before they can.
Nothing can get into the eye. Without piercing the eyelid.
Without piercing the eyelids. That's nice. So the same way, Krishna protected the Pandavas at all times, and the relationship was such that they had complete dependence on Krishna, and Krishna had complete protection. So there's a relationship of, they also did not look at anyone else for their protection.
Tahivath muni shreshta Pandava Panchashayakan Atmano Abhimukhan Viptan Alakshastrani Upadadu.
O foremost among the great thinkers, seeing the glaring Brahmastra proceeding towards them, the Pandavas took up their 5 respective weapons.
So Ashwathama discharged 2 Brahmastras, one to finish all the 5 Pandavas and one to finish Maharaj Parikshit. And the Pandavas, they took up their weapons, but we'll see that they knew that these weapons are, because the Brahmastra cannot be counteracted by any weapon. That is the definition of Brahmastra.
Yeah, and I guess for us, the way we could probably understand is we may have so many weapons in our arsenal, right? And we may think that, if not this, then I'll use this for my protection. If this doesn't work, then I'll use this. But ultimately, it's not that we don't use our resources to protect ourselves, but ultimately, unless and until it is sanctioned by Krishna, then all those weapons will stop working.
Text 13. Vashanam vikshyata tesham ananya vishayatmanam sudarshanena swastrena swanam raksham vadhadvipu.
The Almighty Personality of God is Shri Krishna, having observed that a great danger was befalling his unalloyed devotees who were fully surrendered souls, at once took up his Sudarshan disc to protect them.
So he took out the Sudarshan disc to protect the Pandavas, the 5 Pandava brothers, and he will do so. Antastha sarva bhutanam atma yogeshwaro hari samaya vrinodarbham vairatya kurutantave.
The Lord of Supreme Mysticism, Shri Krishna, resides within everyone's heart as Paramatma. As such, just to protect the progeny of the Kuru dynasty, he covered the embryo of Uttara by his personal energy. So it's amazing, right, that he's actually sitting outside in the chariot, and yet he's entering into the embryo of Uttara.
That's why he's called Yogeshwaro again. Atma Yogeshwaro Hari. So he's Yogeshwaro, he's the master of... So he's sitting... Everybody sees that Krishna is sitting on the chariot. Nobody sees him disappear. At the same time, in his 4-armed form, he enters into the womb of Uttara and he covers Uttara's womb. Actually, at that point, I was reading the purport that Maharaj Parikshit's body is burnt, has been burnt by Ash.
Really?
Yeah, it's already burnt by the Brahmastra. But Krishna gives him a new body at that moment, that instant. But the soul is able to watch everything.
Right.
So Prabhupada makes the point that this proves the difference between the body and the soul.
And also, this is the reason why Maharaj Parikshit is known as Maharaj Parikshit, because once he sees Krishna within the womb, then after he comes out, he's continuously looking at every person and going, is this the same person? So Parikshan means to examine. So he's continuously examining everyone. Is this the same person who protected me?
And when Krishna enters the womb, it is said that Krishna is so Bhakta Vatsala that he, like outside, he just takes out his Sudarshan Chakra, as we read in the previous verse.
The disc.
But when he enters the womb of Uttara, then he enters with, he feels that maybe my disc will not be enough. So let me take another weapon. Just in case if my disc fails, I will have another weapon. And even after entering, it's not that he's just standing there, and Krishna could have fixed the Brahmastra just by his thinking. But he gets so personally involved in this whole situation that Maharaj Parikshit sees him that he's whirling around the womb like a shooting star. Krishna becomes like very angry. He could see his red angry eyes, and he's whirling around the womb like a shooting star. So he doesn't want to leave any space open for the Brahmastra to cause any more damage. So he's like really fired up to protect Maharaj Parikshit.
That's amazing. That's really amazing. I guess that's kind of what we see, right? That this is Krishna's heart, even though he is the absolute truth and he's the all-powerful. And then, you sort of juxtapose this against Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita as the universal form, where everything is entering into his body, and he has so many heads. And then you see him as this person, right, who's just so particular, and like so many details. Like he could just by, like you said, just by like thinking, everything could be foiled. But why does he take this personal? Why does he himself have to come and do this? You
can tell the upper story.
Yeah, that upper story. I think you already told that story, but anyways, maybe it needs to be told again. There's a story where Birbal was, when Akbar asked the same question to Birbal, like, what's wrong? Like in your books, in your ancient wisdom books, you just said that God comes in different incarnations. What's the need? And so then Birbal does this little thing where he has a rag doll, and it looks like it's Akbar's grandchild, and somehow falls into the water, and then Akbar, without even thinking, jumps into that water and rescues. And so then Birbal says, then finds out it's a rag doll. So then Birbal explains that, even though you have so many army and you had so much at your beck and call, why did you jump? This is because there is love. I mean, how could I not? My grandchild is drowning. So then Birbal says it's the same thing with Krishna, with the Supreme Person. When he sees that his devotees are actually in trouble, then it's impossible for him to stand back and watch that. That's against his nature. He cannot do that. So that's actually what makes a devotee completely fearless. Even later in Srimad Bhagavatam, we'll see how these boys enter into the mouth of this great snake. They're fearless.
So, yeah.
Completely fearless. So Is that Kunti Devi starting? No.
No.
We can just finish this, this section.
O Shaunaka, glory of Bhrigu's family, although the supreme Brahmastra weapon released by Ashwatthama was irresistible and without check or counteraction, it was neutralized and foiled when confronted by the strength of Vishnu, Lord Krishna.
And then after this, what is there?
One more.
That's right.
Mam sthahyetad ascharyam sarvascharyami achyute ya idam mayaya devya srijatya vatthantyaja.
O Brahmanas, do not think this to be specially wonderful in the activities of the mysterious and infallible personality of Godhead. By his own transcendental energy, he creates, maintains, and annihilates all material things, although he himself is unborn.
Prabhupada says the activities of the Lord are always inconceivable to the tiny brain of the living entities. So nothing is impossible for Krishna. This is the last verse we'll do. Thus saved from the radiation of the Brahmastra, Kunti, the chaste devotee of the Lord, and her 5 sons, and Draupadi addressed Lord Krishna as he started for home. So this special incidence of Maharaj Parikshit being protected by Krishna in the womb was only visible to the 5 Pandavas and Kunti and Draupadi. And they could see this special live show of how Krishna protected. And they were really touched and they were really awestruck and it's really melted them in so many different ways. And therefore, Kunti will start offering her prayers from the next verse.
I just find it very amazing that on the one hand, the 5 sons of Draupadi died. Even that time, Krishna is there. At that time, Krishna is acting in a different capacity. He's acting as their sort of their friend on whose shoulders they can cry. And here and in the second time, Krishna is protecting. So he's taken on this mode of, okay, I'm going to go and protect. Actually, there's another thing there that Prabhupada makes. He says that actually he again breaks his vow. Because technically,
he's not supposed to.
It's not over yet. It's not over yet because he makes a vow in the beginning of the Mahabharata that he would not pick up any weapon. But at this point, the war is technically not over, right? He's still on the chariot of Arjuna, and yet he breaks his vow and he takes up the weapon and he goes to protect Maharaj Parikshit. So Prabhupada says that more important than just morality or okay, I'm going to uphold my vow is this love that Krishna demonstrates, and at that he even breaks his own vow. So we'll pause here. There's another word that Prabhupada uses, the word sati, but maybe we'll talk about that tomorrow. Yeah. So any comments or reflections, thoughts?
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Yes, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
मेरा क्वेश्चन था कि जब अश्वत्थामा को वहां से जब उसकी मणि लेके उसको मतलब जाने दिया था, उसके बाद वापस से उन्होंने अटैक किया था बाय ब्रह्मास्त्र.
Yeah, he attacked Ashwatthama. He felt very insulted and he had a great feeling of revenge. So this happened after many, many months because between them, the 3 Ashwamedha Yagyas were performed. So there was a lot of time that passed between. And by the time Ashwatthama probably recovered his strength and he attacked again.
Okay. क्योंकि जितनी भी हमने सीरियल्स या जो भी देखे हैं, महाभारत जो देखी है, उसमें वही दिखाया है जो पहला वाला जो ब्रह्मास्त्र जो चलाया था, वो क्योंकि वो वापस लेना नहीं आता था, तो उसका रुख उसके अभिमन्यु की पत्नी उत्तरा के गर्भ की तरफ मुख कर दिया गया था उसका.
These TV serials, they don't always correctly depict what is given in the scriptures because they are done by these people who are just common movie directors and they have no knowledge of the Shastra or the scriptures. So they take things from here and there and they just create something that is...
मेरा मतलब ये था, मैं अभी तक वही समझ रही थी कि ऐसा नहीं ऐसा हुआ था, बट यहाँ ये सच्चाई मालूम पड़ी है कि वो काफी टाइम बाद वो आए और फिर से उन्होंने अटैक किया. और तो पुरानी जो उसने ब्रह्मास्त्र जो यूज किया था, तो वो जब उसको वापस लेना नहीं आता था तो फिर वो कहाँ गया?
So we read that, right? How Arjuna threw his own Brahmastra and nullified the Brahmastra of Ashwatthama, the first Brahmastra. So that was nullified. Both the Brahmastras, Arjuna was able to retract them, almost like put them back in his pocket. But later on, this Brahmastra is invoked by mantra, so Ashwatthama could invoke another one.
Okay. Anybody else? Hare Krishna, Archana.
Hare Krishna. I was just thinking that Parikshit Maharaj was so lucky that he got association of Krishna in the womb and also when he was about to leave the planet. Then at that time, we was Srimad Bhagavatam. So both at the birth and the time of death, both times he was with Krishna. So that's a nice
So
thing.
wonderful. Yeah. It's such a nice point. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Hare Krishna, Di Hare Krishna.
Yeah, Hare
Prabhuji.
Krishna Shuchi.
I really like the point where Uttara directly came to Lord Krishna, and I was thinking that she could have gone to Arjuna or anyone because they all were very brave, but she knew that Krishna is the only shelter who can protect her. And I was thinking like how we react. I mean, whenever we face any calamity, we try to find the shelter from our family or any friend or anywhere else, and later at the last, when no one can help, we go to Krishna. So this is the different, and we can learn from it that Krishna is the only shelter, so we should directly go to him.
And then going to others after we approach Krishna is all right, because we still might need help from others, but always depending on Krishna, that if Krishna is willing, then only the other people may actually help us or not.
Actually, in Ayurveda, they say, right, the doctor can only help if it has been sanctioned by Vishnu. So any medicine that we take or anything, any protection that we try to find, only when Krishna sanctions it, then that thing will work. Rebecca, any thoughts from you? Any reflections? Or Bhuvaneshwari?
I'm actually awestruck by what you just discussed today about Uttara's situation, because I could relate to it. And I was in a very similar situation where my doctor said there is no heartbeat that she could hear. And she said, come tomorrow and, I will sort of take care of it and clear it up for you. And that whole night, I couldn't take that. All I did was to sit and pray. And everything fell in place the next morning. So this is something that the doctor declared that there is no heartbeat, and it is done. And but at that time I did not connect with it and enjoy it so much. But now I realize that.
Wow. And this heartbeat, could you repeat that? We missed it. This heartbeat, whose heartbeat was it?
It was my baby's heartbeat. The doctor said there is no heartbeat that she was able to hear. And she said, just go back home and come back tomorrow morning. And, I think we need to do a procedure for you. I did not go back, tell anyone in the family. All I did was to sit and pray.
Krishna.
Absolutely. So now I sort of connect with that. And
this is amazing. And we just met your baby, and she's so sweet and so smart and so spiritual. My goodness. This is amazing. Well, thank you so much for sharing that, Bhuvaneshwari. It's so beautiful. Yeah, it shows, right, that when Krishna wants to protect, then, like I have, it's amazing. I mean, there's just so many pastimes, right? There's so many people taking care of a person, and that person does not survive. And then there are instances where someone doesn't have anyone to take care of them.
And then they thrive.
It's like, how does that happen? It's because, it's said that not a blade of grass can move without the sanction of Krishna. So
sometimes you see that on a piece of rock, a tree will grow. And then you wonder, like, where is the tree getting its nourishment? There is no soil. There is nothing here. How is this tree being fed? But then Krishna takes care of the tree on the rock too.
Anybody else? One last final comment.
You need to give a tagline.
Yeah.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, Radhika.
When we say Krishna willing, but then why is there a need to make a prayer? Because Krishna knows our heart, right?
We pray so that we can place ourselves in Krishna's hand. Krishna already knows, but it is our way it's our way of expressing our dependence. It's our way of placing our, our very raw, self in the hands of Krishna and saying, you know what to do, and I'm placing myself in your hands. And in this way, we become peaceful. And also, when we say, if you so desire, that in that phrase is included this mood of acceptance, that this way or that way. So many people have lost their faith because they pray with the intention of controlling, right? That I'm praying so that A, B, and C can happen, and it can happen in the sequence. right? But when we are praying in the mood of a devotee or in the mood of all these great devotees, then it's like, okay, Krishna, whatever you want. And through my prayer, I'm expressing my complete dependence on you. And and the second the mood of that prayer is, when we use the word surrender, that word surrender has such a strong connotation, like as if like we are meant to, like the police walks in with their pistol guns and we are just raising our hands and we have no choice. But actually the Sanskrit word for surrender is Sharanagati. And Sharanagati means where I take my shelter.
Just like if there is a great rain, thunderstorm or rain, then where do we go? We try to find a shelter, right, where we can be protected from the rain. So we are not surrendering to that place. Of course, we are surrendering, but we are taking shelter.
We're taking shelter. So prayer is a way of taking shelter.
Yeah.
Oh, really nice. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. That could even be the tagline. Prayer is a way of taking shelter.
Hare Krishna Mataji, for
Yes.
prayers, remember this one thing. When a patient goes to the doctor gives the medicine and also prescribes pray in the morning and evening, because I'm
They
giving
do that, huh? You have a good doctor, Prabhu.
and he says that what if this doesn't work, this medicine doesn't work, then he says double the dose. Double the dose.
Oh, that's nice. So sweet. Yeah, I mean, that would be, we had this amazing doctor when we went for our Ayurvedic treatment in India this time in Bangalore. And, he was from a Christian background, and every day he would come and he would speak to us about faith. And so while he was taking care of physically, he was also always speaking to us about how we need to have faith. And it was so nice, to combine consciousness with our, health is just wonderful.
So who wants to